The most common mistake among men is to believe that conquering a woman means pleasing her all the time. They think that by being kind, available, and insistent, they will be valued. But the truth is brutal. The more you seek approval, the less value you convey. Necessity is repellent, and the true power of attraction lies in the absence of it. A stoic man understands that the center of his life can never be someone from the outside. He does not mold himself to the desire of others. He molds himself to his own ideal. And that's why he doesn't kneel, he doesn't beg, he doesn't despair. He rebuilds himself in silence, with discipline and purpose. And when it reappears, he is no longer the same man. She comes back because she realizes she lost someone who didn't need her. Someone who didn't lose ground, but dug deeper to establish himself. And the impact of this on the female mind is devastating. What seemed to be just another guy became a reference. What seemed weak became unattainable. The secret is not to manipulate, it is not ignoring for revenge, it is to live so well that the absence becomes unbearable. Not for the lack of messages, but for the presence that its evolution represents. The silence of the strong man speaks louder than the cries of the needy man. In Stoicism, the idea is simple. Control what you can, free yourself from what you can't, and you can't control how she feels, but you can control how you react. And reacting with growth is a form of response that no woman is prepared to ignore. That's the thing. Don't try to win a woman back. Build a man that no woman wants to lose. The difference between being chased and being forgotten is in the kind of life you live when she's not looking. Reason 1. She realizes that her kindness was not weakness, it was self-control. Many men confuse being good with being a man of value. But there is a fine line between kindness and submission. The stoic man is neither aggressive nor passive. He is centered. He knows that true strength lies in choosing when to be kind, not living for the acceptance of others. When you give him distance, he expects you to beg. Let him go after it. That he sends endless messages saying how much he misses it. But what she finds is her silence. And then he realizes he wasn't needy, he was calm. He wasn't weak, he was patient. The gentleness of the centered man is frightening to those who expected control. Because she realizes that you were kind by choice, not out of fear. You were courteous but never desperate. You offered respect but not in exchange for crumbs. She comes back because she understands that she underestimated her strength, because he confused education with dependence. And now, in the face of her stable absence, she realizes how rare her presence was, not for the frequency, but for the essence. In Stoic philosophy, kindness is a virtue, but it never comes without firmness. The man who does not impose limits, who does not impose himself, ends up being crushed. The difference between a leader and a servant is in the look. And when you start to prioritize yourself, she starts to see you with different eyes. The tables turn when she realizes you weren't nice, you were stoic, and that changes everything. Reason 2. The silence you imposed screams louder than any speech. When a woman walks away expecting you to follow, she's playing a game of validation. She wants to feel like she still has control. Who, with a simple distance, can bring you to your knees. But the stoic man understands that silence is a more powerful weapon than any supplication. His absence is not revenge, it is wisdom. He withdraws, not because he has given up, but because he knows that presence without reciprocity is a waste of energy. And energy for him is sacred. He prefers to invest in himself than empty himself, trying to convince someone of his worth. This silence begins to provoke something she did not expect: doubt. Why didn't he come after him? Has he forgotten me? Is there another one? And when these questions arise, the desire returns, not for the man who begs, but for the one who no longer needs it. The man who doesn't despair, who doesn't send 1,000 messages, who doesn't make honeyed statements. It conveys emotional control. He is in charge of himself. And that, in the female mind, is magnetic. The mystery that arises from his absence is worth more than 1,000 implored presences. In Stoicism, the idea is clear. Talk little, act a lot. And when silence becomes action, action of growth, of focus, of evolution, you become someone she can't ignore. Not because he spoke, but because he became someone worthy of being noticed. After all, whoever dominates silence dominates the game, and she knows it. Reason 3. She saw that as she played, you grew women test. They push it away to see if you break, if you beg, if you lose your ground. But the stoic man, when he is removed, does not break. He builds. He uses distance as leverage, not as an excuse. As she plays, he grows. You don't get lost trying to understand it. You find yourself going deeper into yourself. And when she returns, expecting the same man, she finds someone different, stronger, calmer, more focused. The impact of this is brutal. What was a maybe becomes a what if. She didn't expect you to evolve. She expected you to sink. But when she realizes that you've used the pain as fuel, she understands that she's lost control. And the desire that arises is not for who you were, but for who you have become. Evolution is the greatest form of revenge. And the best. It doesn't need words. It doesn't need proof. It is enough that you are living so intensely that the very brilliance of your new version blinds you. This is personal power. That's the stoic man in action. While she played with distractions, you focused on your body, your mind, your goals. And when she looks again, it's late. You are no longer on the same level. And now she is the one who runs. That's the result of growing up while waiting for you to fall apart. The stoic does not play, he evolves, and that's irresistible. Reason 4. She discovers that the illusion of the other guy was just that. Illusion. In an attempt to test you, some women will look for another one. They believe that they will find something better, more exciting, more man. But the reality is harsh. Most of these guys live on looks. They have no purpose. They have no firmness. They have no structure. At first, the new seems exciting. He says what she wants to hear, makes easy promises, sells quick dreams, but soon the mask falls, and she realizes that she has exchanged depth for surface, that you, with all your calmness and firmness, were what really held something true. The stoic man does not compete. He does not compete for attention, because he knows the truth always comes out, and when it appears, those who live in illusion fall. Those who live on purpose remain. She comes back because she realizes that what she thought was better was actually more fragile. She exchanged a man who rebuilds himself for one who only seduces, and now you miss the security that only you offered. In Stoicism, it is better to be respected than acclaimed. It is better to be firm than popular, and you stood your ground. While the other tried to charm, you followed in silence, building. And this contrast is unbearable for those who begin to see the truth. It comes back because the illusion did not sustain reality, and now the reality you've built seems more valuable than ever. Reason 5, the fear of losing you to a woman who values your greatness. She may have even walked away with the idea that you would go after it. But when you realize that you move on, without despair, without trying to prove anything, a silent fear begins to be born. What if another woman recognizes the value that I ignored? This fear is not born of nostalgia, but of the loss of power. The stoic man does not drag himself by anyone. He walks in a straight line, with posture, with purpose. And this, sooner or later, attracts the attention of those who know what they are looking for. She begins to observe from afar. It sees you taking care of yourself, evolving, growing. He sees other women noticing, and then her ego, which once believed that you would always be available, begins to crumble. The idea of being replaced scares her more than the idea of losing you. The man who puts himself as a priority inevitably becomes desired because he shows with actions that his energy is not for sale, that he is not a beggar of attention, but a builder of respect. And respect attracts more than any superficial achievement. That's the point where it comes back, not because you begged, but because she couldn't bear to imagine another woman taking the place that was once hers. And the most powerful of it all, you didn't even think about causing this effect. It was a natural consequence of your evolution. The stoic man does not compete. He lives. And living with greatness scares those who didn't know how to value you. Reason 6. The absence you created became a mirror of her own neediness. She walked away expecting attention, but what he found was silence, an emptiness that, at first, seemed controlling, but that soon turned into anguish, because while you stood firm, she plunged into her own neediness. The stoic man doesn't disappear out of pride. He pulls away out of emotional intelligence. He understands that presence without reciprocity is waste. Then he withdraws. And this retreat, instead of diminishing its presence, amplifies its impact. Silence becomes a mirror, and in the reflection, she no longer sees a needy man. She sees a whole man, and this makes her face her own dependence, her own fear of loneliness, her own fragility. Something she would never have had to face if you had begged him. She expected you to break, but you used distance as a building space. As it was consumed, you grew stronger. And now she doesn't know how to deal with absence, because you went from being accessible to becoming unattainable. The stoic man transforms distance into discipline. He knows that the needs of others are not his problem, but a reflection of what the other needs to solve. He does not carry anyone's emotional burden. He walks lightly and therefore goes further. That's when she understands that she has lost a stable, centered, and complete man. That desire returns, not out of attachment, but for the peace she can't generate alone. Reason 7. You have become a rarity. A man with unwavering purpose. In today's world, focused men are scarce. Most are distracted, jumping from stimulus to stimulus, seeking instant validation. But the stoic man is different. He lives with purpose, and that makes it rare. She realizes that you are not ruled by desire. You are ruled by an internal code. While others chase you, you stay centered. While others are too available, you are selective. And this behavior screams value. The stoic does not beg, does not force, does not hurry. He builds, observes, and decides. This means that he does not need to show off to be noticed. He attracts naturally, effortlessly, because his life is magnetic, and women feel it. She comes back because she sees that what you have is rare. It's not beauty, it's not status, it's not cheap charm. It's posture. It is coherence. It's an aligned life. And an intelligent woman knows this is not found anywhere. As she stepped away to test, you became a man of high standard, not in words but in attitudes. And now she realizes that she is facing something bigger than a relationship. She is facing a man who lives on a mission, and a man with a mission is, of course, irresistible. Reason 8. She tried to test you, but you showed that you don't play women test. It is an unconscious behavior many times. They create situations to measure their strength, their stability, their worth. But the stoic man does not enter into these games because he lives above them. You didn't react with anger, nor with drama. You didn't beg, you didn't retaliate. You just walked away silently, gracefully. And this completely disarmed the attempt at manipulation. She realized that the game only works with those who play. The centered man has principles, and one of them is not to lower himself emotionally. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. And precisely for this reason, it confuses those who are used to having control. She expected reactions. He found a rock. She comes back because she realizes that you don't shake for a little, that your energy is sacred, that your life does not revolve around fleeting feelings. You've become predictable in your stability, and that builds trust, attraction, and respect. In Stoicism, it is not a matter of ignoring out of pride, but of maintaining one's integrity. You don't respond to provocations, you respond to reason. And that emotional coldness is everything she wasn't prepared to encounter. And now, who wants to play? It's her. But you're no longer on the board. Reason 9. You've become the standard of comparison for everyone else. She left thinking she would have something better. But the more you get to know other men, the more you realize how different you were. Your calmness, your direction, your quiet strength. Now everything seems superficial next to what you represented. You've become the default, the parameter, the ruler with which she measures all the others, and none pass the test, because no one has your steady presence, your clarity of mind, your ability to be alone and yet complete. The Stoic man does not compete with anyone, it competes with its previous version, and because of this, he is always one step further. While others try to be interesting, he is interested in himself. And that focus makes it unstoppable. She comes back because she understood that what you had was not ordinary, it was authentic. And that you, instead of trying to win her back, just evolved. She is not coming back out of nostalgia, but by comparison. And the comparison is cruel to those who came after. You didn't make a fuss, you didn't show despair, you lived. And living well is the biggest argument there is. What you built with your silence became the greatest cry of value she ever heard. And now all the others seem smaller because you've grown too much. Reason 10. You showed that you don't need anyone to live big. When a man lives well without having to prove it, the world begins to pay attention. And in her case, this attention turns into restlessness. Because what hurts the ego of those who hope to be irreplaceable the most, it's seeing you flourishing without it. You didn't hide in the pain. You didn't seek out empty distractions. You immersed yourself in your own development. He went back to the gym, read more, worked harder, and while she thought you would be in pieces, you assembled the best version of yourself. The Stoic man does not see an end as an end. He sees it as a restart, as a chance to cut out what he doesn't add and focus on what he can control, himself. And this generates a kind of magnetism that cannot be faked. It is perceived from a distance. It comes back, not because you begged for it, but because you evolved, and silent evolution screams louder than 1,000 requests for attention. She realizes that while she waited for you to miss her, you've become the kind of man others wish they had. It is this contrast that changes everything. You were predictable, now you are surprising. You were approachable, now you're selective. And this real transformation, built with discipline, destroys any weak image she made of you. The man who lives big does not need to convince anyone of anything, and being is more seductive than any attempt to appear. When you were driven by the need to be accepted, no one took you seriously, neither she nor the world. But the day you chose to be a priority in your own life, everything began to change, because those who respect themselves command respect. You stopped chasing and started walking steadily. He stopped asking her what she wanted and started acting according to what you needed. He stopped bowing to the fear of loss and began to grow within his own presence. And that's when the tables turned. She started noticing you again, not because of what you said, but because of what you became. The value you built on your own began to echo. His absence became uncomfortable. Your image started to bother you because she no longer recognized you. The Stoic man understands that he does not need an audience to grow. Growth is an act of intimacy with oneself, and when that growth is genuine, it rearranges everything around it, including those who despised you at first. She comes back not because of words, but because you stopped screaming for attention and started living with direction. You've become the kind of man who attracts because he does not make an effort to do so. It just lives on its own axis. The world does not ignore those who shine on their own merit, and neither is the right woman. A man's greatest victory is not winning back a woman. It's winning himself back. It's looking in the mirror and finally seeing someone who respects himself, who takes care of himself, who prioritizes himself. A man who does not sell himself cheap, nor does he demean himself for anyone. The stoic man does not live in search of validation. He lives with purpose. And because of this, it is not lost when someone leaves, because no one who leaves your life takes with them your identity, your peace, or your value. When she comes back, she goes back to a new reality. A reality where you are the center, where you don't beg, don't get too emotional, don't falter. You receive it with respect, but not with despair, with clarity, but not with weakness. You understood that the right woman is the consequence of a complete man, and that the real attraction does not come from strategies, but from posture. You live on a mission, and whoever wants to be by your side needs to keep up with this pace, not control your step. It's not about getting her back. It's about never letting the fear of loss make you someone smaller than you were born to be. You are no one's accessory. You are the protagonist of your own story. And when a man takes on that role, everything changes.